Hello there. My name is Mark, aka the Canadian Jedi, and this is episode 102 of Holocron Chronicles. I'm joined, as always, by my trusty co-pilot through the stars, Mr. Charlie Carden, showing off some brand new t-shirt swag tag. Charlie, you can tell us a little bit about your new favorite YouTube channel.
I do, yeah.
How you doing, man? Hey.
Good, man. I stumbled upon this several weeks ago. I shared it with Oxtra. I shared it with our friend John. It's a couple of guys. I believe they're West Coast based, and their channel is called That Aged Great. Tagline: the past was doing its best. And basically they're taking films going all the way back to the 50s up until maybe the early 2000s that have aged incredibly poorly. They do 10-minute fixed videos, and one dude, they have a stand-up ripping them, and then his sideman who's just it's like a morning radio program, just laughing his way through it. So so I decided to give a promotion to a fellow page, and I subscribe to their Patreon, so a fellow Patreon. So through the I'm going to let them know on their Patreon that I plugged them and I wore their shirt. So be sure to send me a screen cap of this if you could. And we'll make sure we give them go. But no, I'm good. We're post holidays here. Holidays were pretty quiet. I know yours were pretty busy. But I'm going to hang on the thread of Patreon, and I'm talking about our Patreon right quick. Going to do that super quick. As I always do, I'd like to blast through talking about the awesome friends on our Patreon. Secret Friend, Super Squad. These are the people that, for as little as $2 a month, and for the uninitiated with a free 7-day trial. We've had a few lately, and a couple have stuck around, which we're super excited about, because that's how we grow organically. You know, if you're listening to us on YouTube or on the podcast catcher of your choice, as the saying famously goes, please like, subscribe, share, rate us, because that's how more people hear about the show. Because we want to be doing it for you. On our besties level, we have my pal Derek, aka the Figure Dude, Francie, official hairstylist of Secret Friends Unite. She does my wife's hair. She is the most vocal fan of the podcast that April and I do together called A Bad Trip to the Movies with the Cardins, where we every other month we lampoon a terrible movie. Luke Lore, Mr. Xbox Expansion Pass, and my great uncle Tim Horan there in South Haven, Michigan. John Sedorf, kicking off Friends with Benefits level, the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment. Kelly and Crayley, going to talk a little bit more about something Kelly's got going on in a minute. Brendan Myers, Corey and HD. We were also all very blessed to work with Corey recently for a big show that he's got coming up, in being guest host for his 2024. Is it The Bossies? I believe it is. So reading those. Yeah. Looking forward to seeing that, I think, on Jan 26th in 2025. Matt Keel, Kurt Krug, who is my journalist buddy who feeds me lots of great introductions to folks who have that we've had a chance to talk to on our Spotlight program. And then we have a new person, a collaborator, someone who did Code 47 with Peter and myself recently. Tanya Lee down there in the deep South. Don't hold that against her, because she's really pretty awesome. But she's a Trekker, and hopefully she's listening to this program.
We won't hold that against her either.
Yeah. Oh boy. It was very organic the way I mentioned Star Trek. Now you still got to take a cheap shot, man. That's rough. And as always, we have the awesome Nias family of the Twin Cities, Sean, Stella, and Henry, making it the most possible to do what we do. So we're super psyched about that. Patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. As I mentioned, free 7-day trial. And then it's as little as $2 a month to stay on board. And I want to give some big love to, again, Kelly Gentner, who is part of the Phoenix Sisters Entertainment. She runs a great virtual Comic-Con every year called the Multiverse Fundraiser. It's a virtual show, charity fundraiser, all rolled into one. This year, they're working with an organization called Comic Books for Kids. It's a charity that provides friendly comic books, child-friendly comic books, to children in hospitals and cancer centers around the U.S. and this will be raising funds for them on January 24 through 26. The event will have pre-recorded and live Comic-Con style content, including celebrity comic and writing guests such as Creek Wilson, Leah Williams, Jerry Gaylord, John Casper, and more. Please visit the multiverse fundraiser.com. It's a mouthful. Multiversefundraiser.com for more information and instructions on how to tune in and how to give back. So we wanted to give that homage to Kelly for all the support that she's done with us. Kelly is getting into the podcasting world on her own, but she's also worked with us not only on the regular programs but also on the Patreon. Has worked with myself and with Todd as well, doing talked about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So we've had a lot of fun doing that. So yeah, that's it, man. Let's talk about we have a news item. So let's talk about that.
Before we do that, I do want to just remind people that if you're listening and you didn't get that link or any link that we ever mentioned, they will be in the show notes. So check those for the Multiverse Fundraiser. We'll have that link, but also great way to keep up with it. Check out our Discord group.
Yes.
So, we'll make sure that we post some links there and all that kind of stuff and share through our socials. So don't worry if you didn't catch any of that. I do have to give a little Christmassy Sharky special shout out to Brendan Myers. I'm not even going to explain that one. Brendan, you know exactly what it's from. And I want to give a special metaverse shout out to our friend Henry, who joined me, and Sean was sharing some photos over the holidays of Henry getting the Ray-Ban Meta glasses.
Wow.
I just picked up
That's
a pair.
awesome.
And some cool stuff for the Quest 3.
Ooh, nice.
So yeah, and I just picked up a Quest 3S as well. So yeah, Henry and I full meta bros, or metaverse bros, or whatever you want to say. But but we're jumping in, I suppose, and having some fun.
That's
with
excellent.
I love those glasses, man. I feel like the next best thing to like a Tony Stark kind of like something. They're really neat. I use them every day just for like open your headphones. It's ridiculous. This is not a Meta sponsored podcast. I just love those freaking glasses. But yes,
but it would be great if.
Mark, if you're
wink,
listening,
wink.
Zuckerberg, we'll mark the mark. We'll figure something out. We'll work it out.
Market it. Yes.
Mark marketing. There we go. All right. With all of that goofiness out of the way, I do want to talk about something serious. We had someone recently join the force. Angus McGinnis today has just passed away at the age of 77, played Gold Leader in Star Wars A New Hope, and returned for Rogue One.
Right? Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Character. I believe that one was a voice role, if I'm not mistaken.
Seems that way. I'm picturing it. So, of course, we're talking about the Battle of Scarif in the third act of that film, and you do see some adapted footage of him saying, Gold Leader, yada yada yada, and then you get an exterior of the shot, and he said, "We've got to take out this ring or something because they were flying. Oh, the shield gate. We got to take out the shields on the shield gate." And that was the extent of it. He survived the battle because that film directly leads into A New Hope, but he got a whole new Gold Squadron after that, because I'm not sure how many of the other ones even made it, because they didn't end up going down. It was Blue Squadron that went down into Scarif, and they were completely wiped out, which is why you don't see them again.
For this one, so it's in this write-up that I found here from The Independent for 2016's Rogue One. Archive footage of McGinnis was used to allow him to reprise his role for this prequel story, and he did record some new lines, not some new footage, but new lines, including "Keep it tight and watch out for those towers."
Which was a very similar to the what about that tower? You worry about those fighters, I'll worry about the tower, that Luke and Biggs exchange. So a lot of tower talk in Star Wars, talking about towers and boots and jackets and big belts. That's
Star Wars for you. You gotta watch those towers.
You bet.
So so I just wanted to say, kind of, rest in peace, Mr. McGinnis.
Absolutely.
Rogue Squadron checking in. So there we go.
Rogue Squadron. Do we love it? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, are we main event time? I feel like we are.
It's time for the main event. We don't have a
Yes.
guest this week. There's no other less tragic news that I can think of to talk about, although we
Thank
may have
goodness.
missed something. I will be completely honest. I didn't even watch episode 5 of Skeleton Crew until several days later. Like I think it was Friday night, Thursday night, something like that.
Oh
I finally,
man,
I think it was
I can't.
Friday.
That's rough.
And I
That's rough.
finally got a chance to watch Skeleton Crew and catch up on some things. So if I miss some stuff, I apologize. Check in, let us know if we miss something you want us to talk about, and we'll talk about it on the next episode. But yeah, until then, let's jump into episodes 4 and 5 of Skeleton Crew.
Let's party. All right. Well, we'll probably read these all together and then break them out as we go.
Yeah,
So episode,
that works.
Yeah, episode 4 is can't say remember no at Atten. You like my accent? Very Nick Frost. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shire handling the direction. Chris Ford and John Watts, series creator, doing the writing from December 17 of 2024. The crew used what's the name of their ship? The Kaim? L'chaim?
No, Kim. That's Kim is the little owl.
Oh, right.
Cat person thing.
Yeah,
they checked
cat bird.
The cat bird is the Onyx Cinder.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's
pulled that one out of nowhere.
It's going to take some time to really drill down and remember like characters' names and stuff. So, but anyway, they're using Catbird's coordinates to arrive at what they believe to be at Aten. The planet turns out to resemble a war-torn version of it, and later they learn that they are actually on at Acharon, like a Charon, one of the sister planets, because it was outlined in the previous episode that there were 6 planets that were said to be Republic strongholds kept off the maps, so on and so forth. Jod stays on the ship against his will with SM-33 while the kids venture out. They run into soldiers who identify themselves as Troiks, who have been at war with the Hattons. They've got great hats, who have stolen their Eopes. Is that the... Oh, that's the livestock.
The dinosaur
livestock. Exactly. Yeah. Neil befriends a young girl soldier named Hanya. Hena, dreadful French accent. There are French accents in space, whose father, General Strix, insists that the children be treated like adults. Neil does not take to the violent lifestyle, preferring a more humane approach. The kids are to aid the Troiks in getting their Eopes back, but Jod and SM-33 buy them back from the Hattons. As a reward, they are directed to the Fallen Sanctum, which resembles the Supervisor's Tower on Aten. The crew finds that it contains the coordinates to other similar planets, but naturally, Aten's coordinates have been completely destroyed on the statue phase. SM-33 reveals that he destroyed it, but his memory of why has been wiped. Fern orders him to remember, and he suddenly reveals that at Aten is where the former captain hid his treasure. Suddenly, SM-33 is reactive and attacks the group as part of the order from the previous captain. Jod turns him off, and Neil faints after helping save his friends. Mm-hmm. Woo! Busy. All right, we'll finish this other summary and then we will get into the meat.
Let's talk on this one because these are very different episodes. So
that's very true. I'm down.
Take our time dissecting this one first and then jump into the second one. I think if you're up for that.
No, yeah, absolutely. Do it.
So let's jump in there. Right off the bat, I was laughing at this episode because it was, no adults in the cockpit. They're treating Jod like a child, and you have to know, anytime a kid gets to treat an adult like a kid and act like an adult themselves, they relish that.
Right.
They absolutely love it. And these kids are just having fun with it, and Jod's playing along, kind of frustrated, but he's a good sport in most of this.
Yeah.
And I cracked up with the babysitting sequence initiated. 33 watch after and make sure he doesn't do anything. Sure, babysitting sequence reminded me of Peter's training wheels.
Right, exactly. Yes,
training wheels
protocol. Yeah.
protocol. So I just thought that was funny, but this episode, yeah, it just kept moving because the kids wandered onto the planet. Again, I like the decision to focus this on the kids, not have Jod with them at every single corner
Right.
being
Right.
the rational adult or kind of figuring out. We get to figure it out with the kids. And because they don't know, it kind of keeps you guessing for a couple of minutes. But they never let it sit too long. So at first I thought this was maybe a time jump,
Yeah.
some kind of localized time dilation or something, maybe on At-Aten, and the planet aged hundreds, thousands of years while the kids were off planet. I
Right.
was instantly heartbroken of like, oh shit, everyone they know is dead.
Yeah.
Like, is that what's happening?
I definitely had those thoughts going all the way back because I figured when they first left the planet and they go through this, obviously green shield, there is, here we go, an episode of Star Trek in DS9 where there was the Defiant was the ship they had in DS9. They bounced off of an atmosphere that was surrounded by basically displacement in the space-time continuum that in a certain reality threw the ship 200 years backwards in time. It crashed and they started a new civilization based on the people that survived. And so I thought, well, what if, when they leave the planet, they created some kind of time space paradox or something. But we also know that that's not, well, I suppose we don't exactly know that that's not happening because while we are still following the adults back on At-Aten, it's not done in reference to what's happening with the kids.
Yeah, they could definitely still pull that, but it doesn't seem like it was very quickly revealed. Like, this is At-Aten,
right?
It's a different planet. So it doesn't. That would be, again, this show's always pulling the wool over our eyes,
right?
It's always zigging when we think it's going to zag. They could still pull that one, absolutely. But my initial thought was like, oh no, they're doing, that's what they just did in this, and feeling that slight bit of heartbreak. And then they shifted to say, no, this is not the right planet. This is at Akron.
Right.
At is a different one. We don't really talk about that, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I also wondered, now this is, I think, hopefully maybe the only time I will reference the next episode before we really talk about it, but we see King No-Head, or the statue that they reference as
King No-Head.
Oh, let's call him King No-Head. He's the ruler of this planet. The next episode specifically, very, very pointedly, does not show the pirate captain's face.
Right.
Wondering if there's any connection, or if I'm just bored and looking way too much into this as I rewatch the episodes and start piecing little things together in my mind.
Could be. And they even mention in the dialogue, like, why can't we see his face? What's wrong with the picture?
Yeah.
So they're teeing it up to be definitely an Easter egg there, or, much like with a lot of this stuff, it could simply be a red herring that we don't fall for. So, but we'll learn quickly because we're down to the last 3 episodes. So you can expect that things the heat will really turn up because they're at that point. So,
One thing I have to say about the show is they don't sit on anything long.
Right.
Like they're not messing around. They could drag this out. I really thought this episode was going to end when they said the coordinates were scratched off.
Right.
The coordinates for At-Aten are scratched off. They've been destroyed. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen. Tune in next time for another exciting, but they just kept going with the episode. They unveiled at least a bit of the mystery of who destroyed it, what happened. They revealed the captain gave 33 this kill order.
Right.
They just keep answering these questions almost as they come up. They plan a ton more, but it feels like this series or this season, I think based on the episodes we've seen, I feel like the whole thing's going to be wrapped up. I'm sure they'll plant enough seeds and like drop another little treasure map, or here's something else we could choose for a season 2 if we get renewed. But it feels like it's going to wrap up.
I definitely appreciate that, and I hate to just keep dragging the Acolyte, but the Acolyte was positing a lot on, we're going to develop this story more next time, and here's an Easter egg and this and that, and there's it's what the Weekly Planet guys call the start your engines. Like, oh, we're setting up a franchise, so you're going to have to stay tuned in, and that's very dangerous.
Oh yeah.
It's very, very dangerous because even if they do get picked up, and threads are addressed, threads are not addressed, people feel cheated, but people feel even worse of the people who watch the Skeleton Crew, which, as we know, was not it wasn't enough to please the Disney overlords. Is that you're what did I say?
Skeleton Crew.
You know, at least I didn't say Skeleton Key.
I call it a win.
So I see this as a major win. Is that what that says to me in the case of the Acolyte is that they didn't have enough story to give us something coherent, unfortunately, or they were positioning it in such a way that, oh well, we really do, but we need to turn 6 or 8 episodes worth of storytelling into 40. So so I appreciate that the Skeleton Crew in this episode and then the one that follows does realize its own potential, and they've done the homework. It's not the kid delivering the book report, well, it's War and Peace. There was war and then there was peace and somewhere in between, it's the kid who didn't read the book is what shows like that who, it's like the end of Andy Garfield's second Spider-Man movie where they're walking through the dungeon and you have all of the characters, all the villainous characters of the Sinister Six, all their armors hanging up. It's I
forgot about that.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and this was right around the same time that kind of thing was also happening in Batman versus Superman, because we're trying to catch up with Marvel, and so that we can have a hero movie. And it's
true setting up a universe.
Exactly. So that's what, and again, I'll stop dragging the Acolyte. I really will, but I'm using it for the purpose of putting Skeleton Crew up there and saying they've got a great story. They're telling it in an expeditious manner because they have a lot of story to tell, and they're not going to waste their time doing it. And I genuinely admire that. I think it's being done the right way.
Seeing this show as a follow-up to The Acolyte is really, really putting it into perspective.
Yeah.
The amount of balls that they dropped with that show. And as someone who appreciated aspects of that show and kind of I wish they had a chance to do a season 2 and learn from their mistakes.
Yeah.
Because it seems like this show, I don't know if I think it was released too quick that they could have possibly learned from Acolyte's mistakes. But like this show shows everything that they did wrong. This show's doing right.
Right.
And they see, they were probably made in somewhat parallel to one another.
Yeah, not that far apart, right?
They could be sharing those notes of like, hey, the audience didn't like this because this show would have been filmed, wrapped, and
right
in post, right? But like every single thing of like answer, asking questions and then giving the answers, but also asking some more questions, where the Acolyte just kind of like asked these questions, didn't solve them all, didn't do this. And the thing that's pissing me off now is people are saying not enough people are watching Skeleton Crew. And it's like, did the Acolyte really hurt them that bad? Like, did that tarnish people from watching Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus that bad? The people are missing out and discrediting.
I'm like, in some ways, like if nobody was watching the Acolyte, how could this hurt anything? So there's a piece of that reasoning that's really missing. But I'm
just wondering what I've read a couple of different reports of like, the viewership just isn't there for Skeleton Crew. So I'm trying to figure it out. Is it the Acolyte, or people just generally burnt out of Star Wars?
I mean, in the
original shows, I don't.
It's so interesting because April and we just started today after the conclusion of What If, the 3rd season, which very heavily featured the character of Captain Carter. Again, no spoilers, but that's April's favorite character. And we've been talking about going back and watching Agent Carter, which was on ABC in 2015 and 2016. And it was only 18 episodes, 8 the first season, 10 the second season. Widely praised by critics, watched by absolutely no one. They went from viewership of 7.5 million at the beginning of I think for the average of their first season, and they started the second season with an average viewership of 3. and it went off the cliff. But the ratings are absolutely top marks. So
It's a great show.
in today's world, and again, this was less than 10 years ago, so it was not outside of the world of streaming that we live in now, but in a lot of ways it is, because we didn't have the vast quantities of programming. A show like this really could have had a chance, because if people were watching it, because the biggest criticism that came out of what I've been reading is that, well, it was a scheduling snafu and they moved it around, kind of like what they did with the original Star Trek. They moved it to a death spot, or they didn't, the marketing wasn't strong enough. And so people didn't know it was on to watch it. Which in the streaming world, that's a lot easier to fix, and it's infinitely easier to track, which was unfortunately the downfall of the Acolyte in the end of it, because they figured out nobody was watching it. So, wow, I've really gone far afield. I'm talking about Marvel. I'm talking about Star Trek.
It's all relevant to the conversation, I think, and
Big
I
organic
think there's a
globule.
pretty good segment of like crossover between people who watch Marvel, people who watch Star Wars on Disney Plus, and then even Star Trek people kind of
Yeah.
being dragged into that can understand all of those frustrations when a show is really good and not enough
Yeah.
people are watching it. It's like, just watch the effing show. Like,
Right.
and I'm preaching to the choir here. I think people who are listening to this
Yeah.
podcast are probably Star Wars fans who are
I would
watching
think so.
this.
I would think so.
And if you're not, sorry for all the spoilers. Maybe pause this and go watch it,
Yeah.
because the next episode's a banger.
Yeah, absolutely correct. It's a banger.
Let's keep going on this one briefly, because there's a couple of things that I wanted to note in this one, and I want to hear any other thoughts that you have. You know what? Just Shoot Me is like such a vibe of Jod. Everyone surrounds him. He finally convinces 33 to let him off the ship.
Yeah.
He finally seems like, we're going to go, I'm going to get SM33 to start remembering some stuff, to start leading me to the treasure, to start bringing me to Ad-Aten. This is going to work. I'm rebooting the memory. Here we go. I know this droid's buggy. I can take advantage of that. And he steps off the ship and he's like, yes, I broke the babysitting protocol. Put your hands up. God damn it, just shoot me.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Shoot me or help me. But don't say shoot me. It's very literal. Talking to droids like a computer. Yeah, my gosh. Yeah.
But also, I just wanted to talk about how much game Neil has and how effing delightful that child is.
I know. My goodness.
Just so good, so refreshing. All the other kids are just like, yeah, give us guns. Let's shoot the targets. Let's do this. It's all a game, until they get thrown into it. Neil, the entire time, has been able to see that big picture, elevated kind of thing. And it's so delightful, him having his little moment there on the rooftop, and just bringing hope to Hannah and the group, and showing that maybe there's a different way. And she has a line of something like, I'm going to be the one to finish it. And I hope after the moment with Neil that she realizes that there might be another way. And I think that's kind of what they hint at, that there might be another way to finish the fighting other than just more fighting.
Right.
So I thought it was a delightful message and a delightful moment from Neil. That can show that the calm kid can kind of have his moment too.
Right.
Any other thoughts that you kind of had from this one?
Looking at, they're wandering around this planet, which is at Akron, which is like Akron. That's a town in Ohio. Yeah, I mean, if Ohio wasn't scary enough, this is Star Wars, Ohio. It's just I feel like we'll get more of this, obviously, the closer we get to the end, but. This is a planned community, because they're walking around like, this is my house, and we had the tree in the middle, but this one is so overgrown. It's like everything is done down to the micron of duplicating what already exists, which means back on Ad-Aten, this supervisor has a big worship chamber with all the other big spires of planets and all their coordinates and stuff. So he's got a complete set of the coordinates. I would imagine. So he's sitting there. He knows what's going on, but everyone else is in the dark, believing in the great work and the supervisor and the analyst. I love that it was in this episode, the last one, the kids ago. My dad's an analyst. My parents are analysts. What are they analyzing? What does any of it mean? So I think what we're going to find out is that the supervisor on Ad-Atten is the Wizard of Oz. You know what I mean? He's the guy. He's pulling the big strings, or he's the Council of Kangs or whatever from Loki. So yeah, I think there is evil, maybe not from Fern's mom, who we thought like, oh, she's the big muckety muck, and but she's she's clueless and she feels powerless now because her kid is missing. Everybody feels that same way. But yeah, there is a supervisor on Ad-Atten who is the Wizard of Oz. Who's the guy who is who is pulling the string. Don't look behind the curtain. So yeah, we'll find out more about that as we move into this next episode, and then obviously on with it. So, are we ready? Want to take a stab at number 5?
That's a great segue into the next episode.
I segued it.
I really thought with this episode they were going to go to one of the other mirror planets.
Right.
The show delivered another surprise. Tell them all about it.
You got it. Episode 5 is You Have a Lot to Learn About Pirates. Jake Shearer doing the directing. Young Ho Wenson doing the writer. Wesner, excuse me, from Christmas Eve here on 2024. On Ad-Atten, the parents desperately try to send a message beyond the barrier, but the attempt is foiled by the security droids. Why are the security droids so desperate to make sure that these kids don't get found once you've left the nest? It's like it's like a baby bird falling out of a nest. Farah admits to Wendell that they have to go behind the supervisor's back. Farah being Fern's mom, Wendell being Wynn's dad, as a reminder. The crew managed to restrain 33, or so they think, and alter his programming to prevent him from turning on them again. He reveals the hidden treasure belong to the famed pirate Tak Renaud, meaning the ship they are on is the Onyx Cinder, which I thought we already knew, or they read it in reference or something, but it's confirmed now.
I don't know if they've mentioned the ship name before that point.
I feel like it's such a Star Wars ship sounding name that I guess I feel like we'd heard it before. SM-33 agrees to take them to his hidden base, which has since been turned into the luxury planet called Lanupa. Jod disguises the children as elders. It's so great. Oh my God. They look like the, from Spaceballs. Dink, 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 dink. The,
can't remember the name, but I know you're talking about.
Oh my God. I haven't seen that movie in a while. I'm about overdue. However, his former partner, Pocket, who is voiced by the same woman who is Merida in Brave. Yeah. That was so great.
Awesome to see your live action in Star Wars.
A freelancer outs his location to Brutus, who is Werewolf Pirate, and voiced by, I think that's Fred Tatasciore, who is one of the most famous voice actors in all of. He was Shaxx on Lower Decks. That was one of his most prominent roles. All over Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Rebels. And I looked him up, over 1,000 credits.
Yeah, he's IMDb. The Hulk in most of the animated stuff.
Yeah, big Hulk. So yeah,
he's been in.
It's fun. It's funny. I see so many Comic Cons today with all these voice actors, and it's like, in the most case, I couldn't care less. But to meet somebody like Fred or a Gray DeLizzie or who else am I thinking of? D. Bradley Baker would blow my mind. That would be, other than that, the voice actors for anime and whatever it is just not my cup of tea. But that would be pretty spectacular. Anyway, Pocket outs his location to Brutus with the help from Patron Cephalops. My God, more Star Wars names in this than you can even handle. The crew make their way deep into Lanupa's hidden caves, maneuvering through booby traps until they find Renaud's hidden base. They find the coordinates to Ad-Atten and learn that the treasure is a mint that creates infinite credits. Oh, what? When Fern reminds Jod of the fair reward he was promised, Jod, in the most pregnant pause you've seen in about anything in a long time, desiring the mint with the swell of music, challenges Fern for the captaincy. And she's bamboozled. She takes a swing at him, and he uses the force to stop the thing. He grabs her, gets her in a headlock, and holds his big knife, which he managed to retain after they were stripped of all their gear, and urges her to yield, and very tearfully she does so. he tosses the kids all together. SM-33 recognizes him as captain. But a few scenes earlier, we did find out that by flipping a certain lever, a portion of the floor dumps and then replaces itself, and that's what the kids do. They escape. But and this doesn't even mention this, but when Jod is holding Fern in the knife position, Wynn picks up a Guardian lightsaber, which, oh my God, Mark, let this be the chance that will be at Disney parks, because I've been looking for that. They sold it about 2 or 3 years ago, and it kills me. It's still on their website, but it's out of stock. I need that Guardian lightsaber for a Luke post Empire Strikes Back cosplay that I wanted to do for a long time. But that lightsaber is impossible to find. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I'll count on you, and I'll count on anyone else in the Star Wars community to help make sure that I can get it. But yeah, Wynn had picked it up, and he steps forward. He presses Jod, and I love Jod's line. He says, "Careful, Wynn, this is not one of your stories." And he activates it, and it is pointed upside down. He practically cuts his balls off, and it flies off in the distance. And that's when Wynn scatters. But anyway, Jod, then he looks over at the saber, which is on the ground, and you can see a swath of like burning cinder that it cut. And he flicks it into his hand, holding it just like this, and that's the end of the episode.
So much in this episode. Nothing against the last one. I thought episode 4 was fine.
Fine. Yeah.
This episode was just everything that I want. You've got some booby traps.
Acid bath.
Goonies shirt today.
The acid bath thing made me chuckle because they drained it and very easily walked into it. And even April says, wouldn't they be burning because it's still... So if there were like some kind of acid pumps or something, or they've got those good shoes. And then, the attitude then gets reinstituted because Urkel and the pirates are chasing them. And then you see them very briefly, but then the acid gets dumped on them, but it doesn't kill. Some of them obviously managed to escape. But the acid thing was my holdup.
I'm going to quote Harrison Ford on this one for your acid, wouldn't it burn them?
Yeah.
Question. It ain't that kind of movie, kid. If you're worrying about residual acid on the floor, potentially burning these, I was
very worried about it. You can clearly tell that it's a big deal.
That kind of movie, kid.
Yeah, not that kind of movie, kid.
Just don't worry about it. The acid got washed away, and that's all you need to know. And
that's good.
Space Circle.
Everybody's good. Washes away all the sins. Yeah.
Right. Until I see a Steve Urkel, Space Urkel body. And a space werewolf body. I don't believe that whole crew's dead. But we'll see.
I think it's Space Urkel and it's Wolfman Jack. If you're at all familiar, you've seen George Lucas's first major film, American Graffiti. One of the stars was 1950s and 60s DJ Wolfman Jack. Was very popular in Central California, where George is from. So this is Wolfman Jack. Maybe that's why the Wolfman character was seen and then cut from the cantina. That's what he was inspired by, George Lucas's love of Wolfman Jack. But you know what? We don't need to dig that deep. But oh my gosh, you're right. The Goonies was so strong, where in the first episode, the E.T. vibes were very strong, which I loved. Yeah. And April and I, right after that was on, we pulled up and watched both E.T. and Goonies. I guess I hadn't seen E.T. in a while. But it was in the power of John Williams, that score. And then back to Goonies, which I know is a personal favorite of yours, and that was Richard Donner, so kind of the Superman vibes, and then all the the kid stars of the era, and Joey Pants, and the other guy, Robert Davi, and then of course Kathleen Freeman as Mama Fratelli. Just all kinds of great stuff.
So good. This one, I have to say, we talked about this a little bit before we started recording. Directed by Jake Schreier, who is directing Thunderbolts.
Thank goodness. I love it. He brings
this level of energy mixed with like comedy of the kids dressing up as the elders, mixed with that genuine effing surprise of Jod holding the cutlass to her throat.
Yeah.
And, like, if he brings this level of like, I don't know what's happening, there's a little bit of everything for everyone, Thunderbolts is going to kick ass.
Oh God, yes,
I really
please.
hope so.
That's
But
the
again,
asterisk. Kicks ass.
we'll leave that to
Um,
you guys on Secret Friends. But I want like this episode did have everything. It started off absolutely hilarious. Again, once they kind of restrain 33, get him back, get the whatever, figure out they're on the Onyx Cinder.
yep.
So great.
Yeah.
Like
Oh my
answering some
God.
of those questions, finally kind of figuring out, again, they're not sitting on any single point. They don't let anything sit for too long for us to get bored as an audience, to say like, just tell me what the friggin' treasure is. Tell
Yeah.
me how they're going to get home. Tell me the
Right.
next step. Don't go as I thought they were going to do to the next exactly identical mirror planet where we get
Right.
the same
We'll
scenery.
find something else
Only
here. Yeah, exactly.
this one's not a war-torn thing. It's a jungle version of the
Right.
same
And
Adab.
this one,
Like
everything is made out of candy canes. I mean, it was just,
right, but
yeah,
it's the same buildings and everything else. So I thought this was surprising as hell,
yeah,
entertaining. This was just, but yeah, again, like really interesting, memorable Star Wars characters, from
yeah, yeah,
Hocket to the Cathalops, which
yeah.
is like Cthulhu inspired
Right.
friendly thing instead of like, dark
Was he the same
deity.
species, and maybe he was giant size as Borgullet from Rogue One?
Oh, damn. That's more than I can answer.
Yeah, yeah. We did. Speaking of odd aliens, we did get a hut in this,
Yeah.
and a display of a hut choosing to eat live prey. But for the sake of those with weak stomachs, they kind of cut that out because they just showed him go. The server lizard guy brought him like, here's a tray of caviar or whatever, and the hut just goes, no, I think I'm interested in you. Tony Robbins hungry. you know
Yeah.
oh
Yeah. Just so many of those moments.
yeah, good stuff. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was really impressed. And I mean, I always have the hey, I want a little bit more anytime any episode of an episodic program like this ends. But you're just like, oh, these poor kids. This next episode is going to pick up. Obviously, I won't watch it tomorrow because tomorrow's New Year's Eve. We're going to a big party,
Right.
and so we'll watch it. I'm sure hungover on Wednesday morning, like nobody's business, and just be like, we'll get the kids as they're wandering the catacombs, and they're dealing with the trauma of having what happened be exactly what you and I knew was going to happen. Is that John was a bad guy. He's trained in the arts. He's not a Sith. He's not a Jedi. He's a Force sensitive jackass. Or better yet, he's simply a pirate to the code. Much like, I mean, not quite like Han Solo, because Han Solo wasn't a pirate per se.
Yeah.
But he did have the very classic reluctant hero, anti-hero.
Mhm.
At the end of New Hope, he was like, what good's the reward if you're not around to use it? And then Luke is like, well, take care of yourself, I guess that's what you're the best at. And Han's like, oh God, really, now you're making me feel like an asshole. May the Force be with you. And Luke's like, yeah, okay, bro. And so then he turns back to Chewie, because Chewie has always been Han's conscious. I know I'm off on a tangent now, but he's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know what I'm doing. And he does the same thing in Empire. Before they, it really, Han and Luke don't even really get to hug it out. And they don't see each other for the rest of that movie. So this guy is, I'm not even going to say he's really struggling, but I noticed that there was that very long and pregnant pause where Fern says, you're going to take us home and then you'll get a fair reward because that's our deal. We have a deal. Like,
Yeah.
And he's 5-second beat. He says, I challenge for the captaincy, and dun, 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 dun. And then, SM-33 is the perfect enforcer. And because he's a robot, he's not open to logic interpretation. He's very cut and dry. He doesn't have any feelings. He says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about this, but he's the captain now."
Yeah.
So he has kind of pre-programmed warm and fuzzy reactions to stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, is just yeah.
So what?
He is so far the turn that I was expecting. Is he going to turn back? That I'm not sure of. That would be it would be predictable, and
Yeah.
it would certainly help them keep the character around. If the show moves forward. But yeah, for right now, I'm not certain because this is not like I betrayed a bunch of other pirates or just some foolish rabble. These were these poor innocent kids that put so much stock in him, and
Yep.
this is what he chose to do. So we're kind of flying without a roadmap right now. So it's
Very much so.
it's kind of frightening to see kind of what's going to turn out.
It was very surprising to me on first watch of just like you said, just what the hell? Like so far he's had that redeeming quality, that Han Solo, even Jack Sparrow-esque. You do not know if this guy's on any team but his own.
Right.
But he's always had that kind of soft spot for the kids and has been seemingly doing right by them. So this, especially in such a violent manner of a cutlass to the throat kind of thing,
Right.
was really, really jarring.
It was, it was definitely a little further than I feel like we would have expected.
I kind of wonder if he was doing it partially for show, specifically for the reasons you just listed.
Yeah.
Of SM-33.
Right. Because SM-33 isn't the, yeah.
We just saw SM-33 go after the kids.
Right.
When they asked or found out about At-Aten and the treasure.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they have now found coordinates or what the actual treasure is, they've found all this stuff, but this place is so booby trapped. So you know that the next steps are going to be more booby trapped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jod knows who Tak Renot is. He knows about the Onyx Cinder. He knows this dude is notorious for booby traps and setting shit up and not leaving any stone unturned.
Yeah.
This guy is like the baddest pirate in the bunch.
Yeah.
And you're flying with his robot, who we've already established is booby trapped to hell.
Yeah. I'm
taking the responsibility from that for the kids, but it has to be convincing. The kids don't even know that he's acting.
Yeah.
Because he's acting for SM-33, and the kids, SM-33, everyone has to believe it, or else 33 is going to say, this is all bullshit. Fern's still the captain. I'll attack her when shit goes south.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm wondering. I am just wondering. We don't know how old Jod is. We don't know anything about his background. Did he know this captain? Because how long ago did the Onyx Cinder really crash on At-Aten? Because it was pre Civil War, when the Republic was still a thing. So that's dialing back. That's dialing back. High Republic. 25 years, 30 years. I mean, at the very minimum. So yeah, you're wondering what exactly the connection is. And then I think we're looking to firmly establish if Jod was the pirate in episode 1 when they were boarding that ship. It seems the most likely because he was imprisoned for not delivering the goods. Yeah, no, it's a crazy setup, and I'm just kind of on the edge of my seat to see what we're going to find out when we watch this week's episode. Episode 6 and 7 we'll talk about next time, and then I assume we will our episode after that will be in episode 8 blowout plus a series review, and probably looking forward to what's the future of this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
this episode was so, for me, just so amazing. Had so much stuff in it.
Yeah.
I also I have to, I'll give myself a little pat on the back, because when Fern was holding, Wynn was holding up that lightsaber, I was like, that looks like it's upside down. Oh, Jesus, he almost cut his foot off. Actually sitting by myself out in the living room, just looks like that lightsaber is not the right. And
that's not the port
for a second, but I was like, oh, that doesn't look like an emitter. But such a great scene. These kids keep getting into these situations. Episode 4, the battle that they're being thrown into. This one, it's not one of your stories. They keep each episode
Yeah.
reminds these kids almost like Jackie Chan movie style esque,
Right.
where, you know, in a Jackie Chan movie, he'll do all these moves and do all these amazing fight choreography, but he always shows him hurting himself.
Yeah.
It's like Lucasfilm is setting this one up. So they're like, these kids are having an adventure. They're doing this, they're doing that. But if there's any kids watching, the world's a scary place, and like,
Right.
don't go looking for this kind of stuff. Don't chase pirates. Don't go
Yeah.
looking for treasure by yourselves,
Don't go
because the stuff
don't go
that
chasing waterfalls.
don't go
Don't do it.
chasing waterfalls. They can be slippery. Stick to the rivers and lakes that you're used to.
Precisely.
But so I do like that they always show the kids mostly confident. You know, episode 4, Captain Fern. Fern stands up. Actually, it's Captain Fern.
Yeah, right.
Very, very poignantly.
Right.
Finn, Wim stepping up in this one with the lightsaber ready to go. Like, I'm a Jedi Knight, and we see that kind of precursor in episode 4 of him swinging the stick or whatever it is around while they're going exploring at Akron. So each time that fantasy is kind of brought into the real world, they're very, very quickly slapped in the face with like, that's not quite how the real world works, honey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really wonder if, again, all of that is setting up. This isn't a storybook. Jod is giving them a slap of like, here's maybe some real world stuff, but also a little bit storybooky, because it's not, they're pulling the reverse card.
Right.
Jod said it's not one of your storybooks. It's not fake, but I think what Jod's doing may have been a little fake. I could be very wrong. Jod could be a complete shithead. He could be the bad guy of this story. I'm
wondering. Like I said, I saw this turn coming, but the turn back, I can't be sure. I can't be sure. So that's what we're going to find out. Yeah.
We'll see who's right next time.
No doubt.
That's about it. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up this week?
No, man. I just, like I said, I'm engaged with this, and I'll bounce back on my previous thought. The part of this that I find the most life affirming is that they are not giving themselves up to, we gotta drop all these breadcrumbs forward, so that where we're going with stuff. They're telling their story. They're moving it forward. It feels more cinematic, as far as the pacing, being that, in a movie, in a 2.5 hour, 3 hour movie, you've got to have pacing that's pretty tight, or you're going to lose people. And these TV shows, where in a lot of cases they could feel like, this is a 10-hour movie, or it's an 8.5 hour movie, don't have enough material to carry it through. And so these guys, I feel, them really taking advantage of the time they have to tell the story they've got, and let the chips fall as far as future stories that might happen in other seasons. So they're on the right track. This is the best Star Wars I've seen in a very, very long time. This is
long time.
Absolutely incredible. So that's it. That's what I got.
That's such a good point. I've been rewatching a lot of the MCU, and I want to do everything. So that includes the TV shows, and I'm including the Netflix TV shows.
I haven't seen those since they were on the first time. Yeah.
Long ass seasons.
Yeah. Big time.
Long seasons. And I think, as entertaining as they were, and as cool as they were to see that gritty ground side of like Marvel on these shows and deal with some mature subject matter, holy shit, did they drag sometimes. And just keep on dragging that out, because someone at Netflix said, oh no, we need people to be subscribed for 3 months for these shows, or 4 months for these
Otherwise,
shows.
Otherwise, it's just never going to work. Yeah.
Episodes. And they're all an hour long. And it's just like, okay, Jessica Jones, just snap his goddamn neck for me. Like, just get it over with. Wear some noise canceling headphones. I don't care. Snap Doctor Who's neck and call it a day. Spoiler alerts if you haven't seen Jessica Jones.
Sorry.
It's
been 10 years. Get over it.
And I'm enjoying going back and watching them, but so much of TV and so much of streaming TV absolutely falls exactly the way you just said, of like,
Got to keep it going.
2-hour movie. This could have been a 3-hour movie. This could have been 2 movies, something. But like no one.
It's the ultimate. This meeting should have been an email in entertainment form. Yeah, exactly.
And this show, for once, is taking advantage of every second of screen time. They're short episodes if they need to be.
Yep.
It's moving along at a great pace. It's answering the right questions at the right times and setting up new ones that are also answered quickly and then keep setting out. It's not only the most entertaining, but I think the most well done Star Wars thing since maybe season 1 or 2 of Mandalorian.
Yeah, I would say you're right on par with that. That would be my take as well. Yeah, because that had a pacing and a single story that was complete. It dropped, with Mando, like with the armor said, well, you're this child is in your charge. You got to take it to its kind. And you left that story hanging, but they didn't do it at the expense of the story they were telling right now, which is what the Acolyte did. I'm go right back to Dragon the Acolyte. Sorry, but
do it.
They were like, whoa, that'll get answered in season 2. It won't. So everything that you just did is bullshit, and we hate you for it. That was the result.
And even with Mando, like as good as it was, there were some side quest of the week episodes.
Yeah, big time.
This show, 5 episodes in, I don't feel like there's been a side quest of the week.
No. Yeah. They're telling one story.
Of the format of it's a treasure hunt and you don't know all the steps on the map. You don't even have the map for the first part of it. So it's a well set up treasure hunt where you have to find all these things. But it's so well paced.
Big time.
That I can't wait to see how it all wraps up, and I hope more people kind of tune in. Maybe they've just been watching Home Alone and Die Hard, and they'll get back to this.
It's a tough time of year to roll out something new, so that's true. Yeah. All righty, Rue. Well, that's the show, yeah?
That's it.
All right. Well, good stuff. Mark, where do people find you out there?
You can find me on mostly Instagram, a little bit of TikTok, Threads, and Blue Sky as Canardian_Jedi, except Blue Sky, which there's a dash instead of an underscore. And as always, as I said before, hanging out in our Discord group.
The Discord is, to reference Ron Burgundy, is the balls. That is definitely that is where things are happening. I can also be found on a lot of those places: Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, as at the C3 TheCeeThree. I'm just on there having a good time talking about this thing and that thing. Pictures of my wife and I going on our daily walk, and me drinking at the bar with my buddy or whatever.
I was just gonna say, having a beer.
Yep, having a beer. Oh God, yeah. The place that we go to, Brewery Vivant here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, $6 Stein Mondays. They sell Steins that are 34 ounces. I drank a 34-ounce porter tonight. I think I'm still drunk. Maybe that's why I'm talking so fast. And that was over 5 hours ago. So no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's a ton of fun. But yeah, our Discord is definitely where the party is happening. So yeah. Come find us there. But with that, we bring this chapter to a close. Definitely tune into the show. It's over on Disney Plus. Tune into our stuff on YouTube and everywhere. But as always, friends, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring, and to keep on trucking.
May the force be with you. Rex, play us out.